now with HERIFORGE.
Welcome to today's episode of the HERIFORGE Project Podcast. We are honored to be joined by Dr. Gabriela Manista from Digital Humanities Center at the Institute of Literary Research of the Polish Academy of Sciences, one of HERIFORGE project partners. Hello, Gabriela.
Hello, Damian.
Gabriela is an expert in implementing immersive multimedia technologies and experiences in cultural institutions such as museums, and plays a key role in the development of the project itself and in the work of the Polish hub within the HERIFORGE Hubs network. Gabriela, welcome to the podcast. It's great to be able to host you and talk to you today using immersive technologies, of course.
Thank you very much. I'm pleasure to be here and talk a little bit about our work in HERIFORGE project and our work in the Digital Humanities Center itself.
Could you briefly introduce yourself and your current role in HERIFORGE project?
Of course. So I am PhD in social sciences, a lawyer and a project manager. My HERIFORGE role or my responsibility for this project is the research part. And I'm leading the work under the strategy building for future research and innovation, supporting cultural institution in Poland, but also in the more international from the more international perspective in our hubs. And naturally, I am the part of the Polish hub, but closely working with the Turkish and the Cyprus hub too.
What is your professional background, and how did you become involved in research related to museum, cultural heritage, or immersive technologies?
I think that it's all started 10 or 15 years ago when I started to dig into the digital museology. First, I wrote the bachelor thesis about it, then the master thesis, and lately the doctoral thesis, which was focused on the multimedia used in the museum spaces in Poland, but also in Europe. And I was really into the process, or like understanding the process, what happened with the object, with the exhibition when they start to be digitized, and then what can we do with them, was the legal aspect, technical aspect of that, and what we can do for the audience with the digital twins, with the virtual surrogates, etc., etc. And for me, working with the museum is very natural because I was always working with cultural institution, not always with the technical or like immersive technologies with them, but also just with the daily basis work. I try to understand what's their mission, what is their current role for the society, and what will be the museum of the future. And I was collaborating with a lot of museums in Poland, with the National Museum in Warsaw, in Lublin, in Kielce, or in the Museum of Modern Art in Warsaw. And I was collaborating with them not only when it comes to multimedia, but also to understand more about their educational aspect and their, again, mission for the society.
So, museum is your natural environment, I must say.
Yes, it is.
And what types of institutions or projects do you usually collaborate with? You know, thinking about museums, maybe some research centers or XR developers as well?
Well, yes, research centers, of course, because we strongly believe in the international and like also local collaboration with other research institutions. So we are very much into working in some research infrastructures like operas and Dariach, which are working also with their local institution. So this is very natural for us to collaborate with them in different projects. But also when it comes to the developers, yes, but more observing their work, understanding their perspective, and testing some like tools. We are now in HERIFORGE trying to get in contact with a lot of small businesses or small businesses that are doing project for museums or project for the cultural institution. This week we tested some VR tool, VR project, and we are trying to, again, understand their perspective. So it's like collaboration via observing or like observation, yes.
Okay, so let's focus on XR technologies. Virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality are increasingly present in museums and cultural spaces. And Gabriela, last year you published an extremely interesting book, Multimedia and Museums Between Technology and Experience, which covers this topic extensively. You cover a wide range of technical means, touching on the topic of games, virtual worlds, 3D and even artificial intelligence, but with a good critical approach, with real examples of the audience experience of visiting such museums in Poland, and not only in Poland. From your perspective, what is driving this growth?
Well, it's a mix of technological, social, and cultural factors. We can see that since 2 decades, the multimedia are entering the space in the museum, not only remotely, but also on the exhibitions, creating this immersive possibility to be more active or involved into the analog spaces or like physical spaces. I think that what is very important here to highlight is that pandemic, like COVID-19 pandemic, gave a big push here. It forced museum to reach audience more remotely. So tools like virtual reality, augmented reality, digital twins become really essential there. And I think that after that, it was very hard to, not to push forward to this development. But it's not only about the tech, it's very, very social phenomena, because now we are entering we entered the new era, like 21st century. It's like, it's the one that people are like really actively using the technology. We have like smartphones with us all the time. The people who are born now, the new generation, they are native, digital natives. They don't understand how not to use the technology. So it's very natural for all type of the institution to just use this potential that technology is giving us. But of course, with that, it comes a great responsibility for the cultural institution. And yes, I think that in my book there's maybe not a critical part of that, but I think that the most important here is to remember that technology cannot be the whole idea of the exhibition or the whole idea of the project in the museum or cultural institution. It needs to be just another filter to that, just something that is complement to what we are doing, what we want to achieve as a cultural heritage institution.
Yeah, let's talk about what they have. How are museums and cultural institutions currently using XR to engage their audiences?
I think that people who are not very into the museums or cultural institution, they don't even know how much of the project, or how many of the project we already have. And I think that the most interesting part is that museum experts, museum professionals, or like cultural experts and professionals, they are very creative. So they are using these technological tools to add some layers to their content, to their stories, and I think that even though when I'm talking with my friends or like with other colleagues about how museums are using the technology, they are very much shocked. Like even the artificial intelligence is something on the plate right now. But starting from maybe the basic ones, first of all, augmented reality. It's really used not only in the museum spaces, but in the city spaces that that museum or other cultural institution are using for showing more context, like reconstructions of historic buildings. We can see it on our smartphone, just putting it into the building that it was ruined, and then we can see how the object was layered on the other object. 3D models, holograms, allows visitor to not only rotate and study deeply the details of the object, but also meet with the holographic historical figures. I don't know if you have ever saw the Saxon Palace augmented reality part that is in Warsaw. There's a lot of product that museum and cultural institution are doing, and for me the most interesting for now, because we are kind of new into this technology or new to this era of artificial intelligence, is that museums are using them like this technology or algorithm to kind of educate the audience. So they are not using it only for, to show that we can make this technology works, but really in a way to educate, to understand more of the historical and cultural object.
It's amazing you just said, because I don't know how many people listening to us today knows that museum is not an old institutions with old artifacts, but many new technologies. We are talking not about a few places in Poland, but many institutions nowadays. It is some kind of a business, I must say as well, because it is something you should invest. So what expectations do institutions typically have when they invest in XR solutions?
I think that they are really thinking how the technology can help achieve strategic goals. So what I mentioned before, it cannot be only to entertain the audience, but to add more layers, to add context to the objects. And the clear philosophy that I kind of catch from the interview with the museums professionals is that multimedia should complement, not replace, the authentic object. But of course, this is the business kind of part for them, and they need to think about the budgeting. Majority of museums in Poland, they are publicly funded, so they cannot make too much of the prototypes or tests when it comes to the technology. They need to be sure about how to implement this. They need to be sure about how to implement it and how to achieve their strategic goals, the goals of the exhibition, the goals of their missions. So here the research come in. I think that this is the most important for the museum to understand that the research is not only the additional part to show that we are doing a lot, we are understanding our target groups, but it's really something that it helps implement technology better.
I have another question from another side, I must say, because in your book there is a lot of experiences from the audience, because of course it is for business or for research as well. For XR developer, it is a natural space just to put XR, put 3D, put many technologies. But why it is important to research how audiences actually experience and interpret those XR solutions in cultural context?
Just as an introduction, my research was both qualitative and quantitative. So I researched 104 visitors before entering the exhibition in the Polish museum, in the 4 different Polish museums, and after seeing the exhibition. So I think that was very important here to understand the expectation first, then when the audience entering the museum space, and then to see how this expectation were met in this museum space. And for the research, from the research perspective, it's very important here because we got different layers or aspect of that. So it's not only about the user experience, but also about the cognitive studies. So how much of the immersive technology can really how can you grasp the knowledge from the immersive technology? Is it better for the audience to collect this knowledge or the information when we are applying the technology, or is it better to do it only on a part of the exhibition? So this was the first, to understand that it's not only about the entertaining part but also cognitive part. Then we were thinking, or I was thinking about the negative effects and media saturation here. We need to understand that that technology can sometimes, reveal some psychosomatic discomfort. So dizziness when it comes to virtual reality, eye strain from the screens, etc., etc. So this is very important, not to make a museum a space which is so saturated by the multimedia that people are, or like audience are not able to enjoy it, or not able to even grasp anything from that because it's too much. What is very interesting, and this is kind of described in my book, that majority of museums that's using multimedia are. It's not criticism because it's different approach, but like when I collected all of the material from the videos, from the audios, from all the VR immersive installation and project that were on the museums, that were on the exhibition, that sometimes the visit should be like 6 hours or 7 hours to see it all. And this is not possible for the visitor, for the audience to be in the museum space for 6 hours. Maybe some amateur like it, but I think that compared to what was exact time of the audience spent on the exhibition, it was half of that or something. So the saturation of this multimedia is very important to also understand and collect some ideas how to do it reasonable for the audience to enjoy also the exhibition.
When I said at the beginning of our talk about criticism in your book, I just mentioned this a kind of realism about implementing those technologies, because I'm thinking from the perspective that, for example, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when the institution was in a decision, okay, let's go with some new technologies, there was another technological layer. They implemented, for example, screens with SD resolution, not 4K like nowadays. With some technologies, of course, it was much money to put on that. Nowadays, we can put XR, we can put AI, we can put a lot of new technologies. So yeah, take a look that some museums, even in those layers of implementing technologies, are old and new. Yeah, so I see only for the first only that risk, but probably more, larger list of risks. What risk do institutions face when XR projects are implemented in those institutions?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that you mentioned about something very important. The technology is outdated so fast. I can see that, as you said, like 10 years ago, the multimedia kiosk was something novel for the audience. And now It's so hard to keep up, but museums are doing this, so really chapeau bas for that. But when it comes to the risk, I already mentioned a lot, like saturation, expectation of the audience, etc. But I think that the easiest answer is sometimes the best. So I think that the risk or implementing some projects are just to fail to attract the audience. Just this, like, I think that you need to really think about something creative, really something on time, kind of in a trance when it comes to the audience. And you need to think about the target groups also, because this is the problem. You cannot do the technology for everybody. It's not possible.
Absolutely. I fully agree. Looking from the technological perspective, fully agree. Of course, when we are talking, it is some pros and cons, some pluses and minuses. Let's go to final question about pluses. Of course, when we are inside the HERIFORGE project, we want to see more pluses than minuses, of course. So what are the greatest advantages for institutions after a successful implementation?
First of all, more audience or more different groups of audience. If the institution are struggling with attracting young people, they can start to think about the implementation of an immersive technology that is really designed for them. Or maybe the seniors, citizens. I don't know. It's more about the museum needs. But the more audience equal more frequencies and more visitors, which at the end of the day, to be honest, it's one of the goals of the museum. They are like fighting for attention with different cultural heritage institutions. They are fighting with attention with other possibility to spend our free time. So I think at the end of the day, the greatest advantage is to implement some good technological and like immersive project is that. Also, of course, the prestige and the being famous in the ecosystem or in the group of other museums. And let me remind you that in Poland there's like more than 1,500 museums already. So I think that a little bit of the competence here, it's also something that drives this development.
Excellent, fantastic talk. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today. We encourage our listeners and viewers to visit museums, new ones with XR technologies, of course, to use the latest technologies that enhance their experience, and of course to read your book, Gabriela, which I also return to with pleasure. Thank you very much for a very good conversation. Last word from you to our listeners?
When it comes to the research, don't be afraid. Just apply even the simplest tools when you are a museum professional. Just like asking your audience, surveying your visitors, it's something that can help you with implementing the newest technologies and the newest immersive project.
I'm delighted that together we can create such a valuable project as HERIFORGE. Our guest today was Gabriela Manista from Digital Humanities Center at the Institute of Literary Research of the Polish Academy of Sciences. Very long name, but very important, of course. Thank you so much. And that's all in today's podcast episode. You'll soon be able to watch and hear more stories about technology, digital culture, and immersive heritage. So, see you soon. Thank you, Gabriela.
See you soon.
Go beyond now with HERIFORGE.